Hey everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to continue working through the NPCs of Stardew Valley. In the last couple videos we talked about Pierre and Caroline, the reasons Pierre is such a greedy guy, and why I think their marriage is held together with toothpicks and duct tape. I think the wizard has now been peering around the edges of nearly every video in this series. If you haven't watched the others, you should check them out. But if you don't have time, don't worry about it. I'll catch you up as best I can here today. Let me warn you again, just like Mr. Key, this video is bonkers. Bust out your tinfoil because we are about to get weird. So the wizard, why are we doing the wizard leap a lot? Everyone's done something on the wizard. And that's true. There's a lot of great content, some fun deep dives, lots of conspiracies all around this guy. And I think that's part of what makes him fun for me. Let's get the connection to Caroline knocked out first here. A healthy fraction of the Stardew Valley fandom is convinced that the wizard is Abigail's father. I agree with this personally. Especially since Concerned Ape has done nothing to dissuade us over the years. Now obviously that's not the same as confirming it, but we'll be assuming it's true for the sake of this video. We're not going to spend a whole video rehashing that, but let's just briefly cover the affair and a little more evidence than the previous video contained. In my mind, Pierre knows his daughter is not his. Caroline knows that Abigail is not Pierre's. Neither one knows that the other knows. But you know who doesn't get to know? Abigail. But she still feels a pull. She still walks out to the woods and stands outside that same old dilapidated tower that her mother used to visit. She attempts to communicate with spirits. She spends time alone in the graveyard. Like, I know she's some kind of goth or emo or whatever, but I also think she's got a little bit of magic herself. She even knows that Grandpa's shrine is an important place, the only spouse that says anything about that. I also wanted to point out here as well that Abigail's hair might have been dyed once, as she herself mentions. A lot of people told me this. But it has never faded from purple, and that is also something she says. I know it's a video game, but it's specifically stated that she's conscious of this fact, so no, her hair is not normal. Like when you dye your hair purple, the new hair that grows in is not also purple. Okay, that was a lot of Pierre and Caroline and Abigail. So why is this a video about the wizard then? Because we're getting there, okay? Just wait. But actually, we gotta make a pit stop first. In my Mr. Key video, I talked about how the wizard, Mr. Key, Grandpa, and Linus are connected. The short version is that Rasmodeus is supplying weird tech/magic to Joja Mart through Mr. Key, and Linus doesn't know about it. And let me tell you, that is a sentence I never thought I would say out loud. So why is it that the wizard and Linus are friends? We are getting super deep into speculation here, like this is basically fanfic, but here we go. The Stardew iceberg is coming into play. In the iceberg, which, by the way, go check out Wallygug's video if you haven't. The link is in the video description. Lots of good stuff in there. But anyway, M. Jasper's identity is considered, and that's what we're looking at. The short version is that Mona of the Grave in Pelican Town belongs to M. Jasper, who wrote some of the adventuring books in the library. M. Jasper was considered to be a part of an adventuring group including the Wizard, Marlin, and Linus. Is your tinfoil ready? You're gonna need it here in a second. The assumption I'm making, and I think it's one that's been made a few times, is that the group split after M. Jasper died. But what happened? And was this the same situation where Marlin was injured? I think it was, and I think the person we now know as Mr. Key was actually involved in this. Mr. Key states in one of his dialogue options that he used to be just a normal boy, but he made a decision early in life that he would be extraordinary. I think that decision was to become an adventurer, like the aforementioned group. I think he followed them down into the mines one day and got lost while they were adventuring. When the group came back to the surface at the end of the day, they found traces that someone had traveled into the mines behind them, so they hurried down to go save this individual. The boy had traveled down deep into the mines and was trapped in a conflict between some shadow people and dwarves. M. Jasper and Marlin rushed forward to save the boy and intercept the attacks. Marlin pulled him to safety, though he was seriously wounded. M. Jasper was also caught in the crossfire and died. And I think that when that happened, the wizard lost it. Basically nuked the whole floor, which caused the elevators to break, but cleared the area of enemies. The surviving members of the party hauled their injured and their deceased back, and the party broke up without the support of M. Jasper. This was when the boy, who would become Mr. Key, realized that the mind was far more powerful than the sword. After all, Marlin had been injured, and M. Jasper had died. But the wizard and Linus, who I suspect might have powers, but you know what, we don't have time for that in this video. Anyway, those two had not even been touched. This also explains why the wizard can so easily break up the fight between Krobus and Dwarf later. The two realms came to peace when they realized that if they angered the wizard again, they would certainly die, and now he shows up to, enforce that peace. So the party is all split. Rasmodeus builds himself a tower to watch over the valley and ensure that the truce is kept. He splits his time between the tower and his home in the swamp with his wife, the witch. He develops this transportation magic to make the journey a little bit easier. Marlin can't leave the mines. Maybe he loved Mona, maybe he just knows that someone is going to go back into those caves someday. He knows that there's no way he could stop them when he used to be the same, and if they're not ready, it could be deadly for them, or for someone else. So he sets up an adventurers guild, but he doesn't expect much. Linus leaves for a time. He's had enough of the adventurer's lifestyle, all that danger, risking your life, for what? He wanders for a while, trying to find out who he really is and working toward a comfortable life in the city. It won't last, though. And where does the young man go? Well, I don't know, that's tough to say. My guess is that he tries to apprentice with the wizard, but is turned down, and then he leaves to go seek a mentor, but he'll be back in the story in a little bit. Let's actually get back to the wizard, though, because I could have sworn this was supposed to be a video about him. Anyway, his wife, the witch, has always found his work too dangerous. She wanted him to just settle things down, work on magic potions and sell them. You can become filthy stinking rich without ever having to go down into the mines if you just put some mushrooms in a cave in your backyard. And now that Mona is dead, she tells him there's no need to risk his life. Well, that doesn't sit well with Rasmodeus. He's a man who needs some adventure in his life. He begins working on some new magic, but he can't get the pieces to fit together. He wants to do something related to the land, but his experiments with magic teas they haven't granted him any enlightenment. Fortunately, a new distraction is about to come his way. In comes Caroline, and we won't talk about this again, but that's it for the witch and Rasmodeus. She flies off in a rage after learning about the affair, and she curses the man, and now he's all alone again. His adventuring party is gone, his wife has left him, and even Caroline won't return his communication. What a great time for Linus to reach out then. Linus has apparently begun working on a new project with a couple men that he's become acquainted with from Zuzu City. Some sort of mega retailer thing they're working on, and they need some logistics help. Transportation. How convenient. Rasmodeus never meets Grandpa, as your grandpa backs out right away, but he works alongside Linus to develop some magic and technological applications for the business. It works well for a time, but Linus grows uncomfortable with the way that the business is destroying nature. We're going to talk about that later too. Different video. He leaves the project, but returns to the valley where he once adventured, to be near his friend the wizard, and to watch over the land that his former business partner cared for. The wizard can't stop, though. He secretly attends a meeting with the last remaining member of the leadership of this mega retailer, and he recognizes him. His skin is blue now, but that's the boy they saved from the mines all those years ago. Mr. Key tells him that he's been trying to understand magic. There were some complications, that's why he looks different now, but that doesn't matter. He needs the wizard's help. He knows about the teleportation magic, and he wants to make use of it. They work together, behind Linus's back, to build up new and unusual technologies. The wizard doesn't feel guilty, because it's not really for Joja, it's just for a young man he already threw everything away for once in the past. And then one day, Mr. Key tells the wizard that a new villager is on the way to Stardew Valley. Someone with a spark, kind of like his own. Someone that's going to change the world. They need to develop that new villager. Rasmodeus will need to befriend the new villager. It's the only way that this newcomer can achieve perfection and succeed Mr. Key as the head of Joja, whatever that means. They'll need the wizard's help along the way, and Mr. Key says that this newcomer might even be able to help the wizard retrieve some of his belongings from his former wife's home. A friendship with this new farmer could be very beneficial for everyone. Mr. Key knows that the wizard has been having some troubles with the projects he's been working on, and he thinks that this new farmer might be able to help. Something about Junimos? Spirits? It's hard to say. Anyway, this video got really ridiculous, and the longer I worked on writing it, the more outrageous it became, so I don't blame you if I lost you halfway through there. We'll try not to get this silly in the next one. Other than that, though, I hope you guys had some fun, and I will see you in the next video.